Coming to you guys from Bangladesh, actually from, can you see it? Dhaka City. I'll zoom in on it so you guys can see it. Some interesting facts about this country that I'll let you go into because we were talking about it. I said, you know what, let's just put this on the vlog and I'm going to surprise you with what we're going to talk about.
Sorry,
it's going
before, just as a point of record, it's 3:30 a.m. Bangladeshi time. Today was my birthday, and what better way, like Mohammed Heraldez thought, than for us to do a vlog at 3:30 a.m. on my birthday in Bangladesh. Okay, carry on.
We're up. I mean, we're up. We're up.
It's
nothing. And where was I? Okay. So we had a scheduled meeting that was going to run from 4 to 5 p.m. with some important folks, and it went from 4 to
10 p.m.
So, taking it from a Western perspective, they must like our company to be with us for 6 hours, but that might be reading too much into it.
You were just such a pit bull that they were too afraid to say, you know what?
Nah, I think they enjoyed themselves. Well, just because we're talking about that, and this is when we're walking here. 6 hours.
Friday night.
People from Bangladesh.
Yeah.
People from the area. Some really, really intriguing facts that you may already know or not know. But my question to you is, from that meeting that we had, what were some interesting facts, ideas, things that were said that help you think more deeply about the region, the country, the city, the world, your life, your existence, your birth? What went through your mind during our 6 hour marathon session?
Okay, so test. What's the population of Bangladesh?
Come on, 166 million. Wikipedia, baby. You gotta come prepared.
What's the population of Dhaka?
Ooh, I think I heard someone say 22 million.
Okay, that's what I heard too.
Okay.
Wikipedia. All right, so with those stats in mind, what we know is that Bangladesh is the most densely populated country in the world, right?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that was discussed was the benefits of being the most densely populated country in the world was this idea of transmission of information.
Why are we here though? We're here for meetings, but why are we even here?
There were the Bangladeshi Brand Awards, and
they're actually constructing everything
yeah,
right
the
now.
stage has been constructed now, right?
3:30 in the morning, they working.
They were like, well, "What are you guys doing up at 3:30 in the morning with
Can
a
we see your
camera?
credentials?
With a camera
Yeah,
at 3:30."
it's like,
in the
oh, you
morning?
know this thing that you're building for? We're actually going to be speaking at it.
Why are you walking around a hotel at 3:30 in the morning with a camera? Two brown-skinned guys, like, what are you
they're
doing?
brown skinned too, so.
I know, but okay.
Okay, so we're here for that. Okay, go ahead.
And to do some workshops to business people, talking about growing your business, strategy, emerging economy, stuff like that. But if I go back to the point about density, right? One of the interesting kind of take-homes was that this is a very good testing ground.
Yeah.
Testing ground for new products. So I want you to talk about why Bangladesh is a good testing ground.
Oh, I mean, well, the fact is that they said in regard to, there was a Korean professor, economist, who said that in terms of world economy, macroeconomics, looking at nations, there are indicators of poverty.
Right.
Right? And he said, unfortunately for Bangladesh, it ticks every single box for economic impoverishment.
Yeah.
And because of it, if whatever it is, whether it's a commercial product, whether it's medical, whether it's it can replicate 30 to 40% of the world here in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Basically, if you're trying to solve fill in the blank, world hunger, whatever, this, that, the other, if it works here in Bangladesh, it will probably work in 30 to 40% of the world.
So you can use this as a ground for experimentation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the obvious ones are things like, drug trials, information exchange, maybe things like literacy, But also, I think
Do you know the city in America that best represents the American market? Would you happen to know that?
no.
It's actually Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Is that because of Prince?
But it actually, when I heard that, I thought of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and why there's so
Yeah.
many companies there, because they want to test their products, their services, to see if it will be accepted by the customers that they're targeting, because it's such a good representation of America. So that fact that Bangladesh, if you were to deploy a cure, a measure, and it worked here,
Yeah.
it could potentially and possibly and probably work in 30 to 40% of the world.
So I would also think that that would work for app development, right? If you had an app, and it's not just how people use the app individually, but it's word of mouth, how your peers use it, whether you're influenced by the behavior.
So there's an interesting thing about technology.
Yeah.
If you look at these countries,
Okay.
the people here are fantastic. In this region, they're fantastic on the phone. Text messages, everything. They live on their phones.
Yeah, yeah.
If you look at-
WhatsApp is where it's at,
If
yeah.
you look at the development of technology, if we're going from 1 to 10, let's just say America, because we invented the internet, is at 0.10. Just
Yeah.
right now, and it's still growing, right? The 10, it's just a moving goalpost.
Yeah.
Right? But you say America's leading it. To get to 10, America had to start from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
With other parts of the world, of course, they were slow adopters. Technology, the release, the deployment was slower. But what's very, very fascinating about different parts of the world and what I see in different regions, but especially impoverished countries, is that because of their infrastructure or the lack of it, economy, technology, is that, of course, they're copying and everything that was being done in America in the West. So they went, okay, America was on step 5, step 6. What they were doing is that, they were now, when America was on step 6, they were on step 1.
Yeah.
And then when America got to 7, they got to step 3. And then America got to, so what I'm trying to actually point out is the fact that, for example, email. It is something that they really don't do in other parts of the world, because we as Americans, we still live in email. If you do anything formal, a PDF, a contract, it's going to go through email.
Yeah.
But the fact that they didn't live in email for a period of time, whether it's 4 years, 5 years, whenever email was at its height of usage in the world globally,
Yeah.
Americans, British, we lived in it. But for these, because they were lagging behind, when we got to step 10, they went from step 4, let's just jump straight to step 8. So what I'm saying is they didn't even go through the whole DSL cable. They went straight to mobile, 4G. They went from internet boutiques to 4G.
So what's interesting is that this is another example of a gig, and we were in Istanbul not so long ago as well, where we're being booked through WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Contracts, flights, itinerary,
Everything.
pick up at
through
the airport.
text messages.
Everything happens through WhatsApp, because also that if you need to
But through Western countries, how do we get dealt with? Through emails.
Emails.
It's all emails.
But WhatsApp, someone might just jump onto a call, or they know when you're awake, because you get the 2 blue ticks, like, oh, cool, or he's online, or
It's
you've read it.
3:30, but he's online.
Yeah,
Let me
great.
send him this text message.
And then you get
Yeah.
an instant response. Now, I've got a question, because when we were talking about mobile, one of the trends is that, and this is happening all over the world, people are watching short format video content, right? They're watching videos, they're downloading movies onto their smart devices, and they're spending less time on television. That's obvious, we all see that. But what was interesting to me was that the telecoms providers are selling data packages where it's 1 gigabyte that you have to use in a day.
Yeah.
Now in the UK, I've heard that you can buy a top up of like a gig, 4 gigs, whatever it is, but they don't impose a 1 day restriction on it.
No.
Like that's kind of, it was unusual to me.
It's very, shark-like. It's very, very capitalistic. But
Yeah.
that's how fluid they are and agile they are with their system.
And people will buy, like, 1
American
gig.
data programs.
Yeah.
Terrible. It's so terrible. When I'm in America, I go, it's just whack. It's just so bad.
You probably
Then
have a
get to-
Colonel Decker fund in America, right?
Then you go to, and it's
18.
funny because we invented this stuff, but you go to Europe. Well, WhatsApp was actually, it's an American company, but yeah, started by. But to see how more fluid, how easy it could be, because look, America's just one market, it's one country, right?
Yeah.
You fly from one side to the other side, it's 6 hours. You do that over on this side of the world, 6 hours. You're in a whole different country, culture, language, religion. So there's some different factors, but when you get over to this Africa, Middle East, Europe, it's so much, the technology is so much more fluid, agile, and much more adaptive. And there's just so many more options. And American,
Another
you're
point
stuck.
that I noticed was that the elections are coming up at the end of December, and the telecoms providers were talking about doing what?
Okay, so they're having their election. On the day of election, the government is telling them that they have to go out of business, shut down for 1 day on the day of election. Why? First thing that came to my mind, was it because of corruption? And he said, exactly. So that they weren't able to mobilize and speak to each other so that rampant corruption could occur. That is a particular measure, but
Which is mega.
that's massive.
Shut down for a day?
can't-
Because normally, like if I think about, that's part of the process now. Because it was Kenya that I remember seeing a report where, with the Kenyan elections, they were using WhatsApp
No, I mean,
to answer questions for potential voters.
that's the thing. It's so, you saw, Occupy Wall Street, Arab Spring. That was all through mobile,
Yeah.
right? So they see the power of it. So it's lesser of the two evils, or they're trying to cut off a cause to prevent a possible outcome. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
They're gonna shut down, so you're not gonna be able to text, which is all right because we lived in a world before where we didn't have that. But no one has home phones, home lights. So you're not gonna be able
I thought you say homing pigeons.
we're not gonna have any way of communicating in the modern era because of an election day.
They probably use their car horns for Morse code.
It's just got to be a holiday. It's got to be something like a national holiday.
So there was
Everyone's just got to be still.
There was another thing that I noticed, which was, oh man, I've just forgotten. It's 3:30 a.m. Management. So one of the things that I picked up on is that, if you go and study business in the West, MBA, stuff like that, and they talk about streamlining your management, optimizing skills, competencies. So basically in plain English, right? You make people fill out forms, you work out what their personalities are, what qualifications they've got, how many years experience, and then you match them to the appropriate job, which is pretty much a spreadsheet exercise, right? Look at the diversity, the equality, qualifications, years experience, blah, 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 blah. But what they were saying is that it doesn't quite work like that in Asia or in this part of the world because of the power of social and family networks. So people are having to make allowances where if you take the kind of the spreadsheet calculation, this person may not be qualified for the job, may not even be technologically savvy, right? But because they were there for you in the hard times, or because they have a connection with somebody who could be in government, or because, strategically it makes no sense for you to kind of just do the spreadsheet thing and to say, look, I want to replace you with this next Harvard MBA or something like that. It has to be a lot more tactical.
Yeah.
And so what they were saying is that in business, it's not so much about, within problems there are opportunities, right? But solving the problems is not just about closing off all of the doors and scorching the earth and starting all over again, but actually there's a kind of iterative innovation and invention that's quite entrepreneurial, right? That's accepted. So in other markets or in other cultures, you might think, oh, this business is underperforming, or it's lagging, or you need to have a big shake-up. And what they're saying is, no, we can't move that quickly because of
Culture. And
Yeah.
these kinds of acts, when you do a copy-paste, your MBA from the West, and okay, this is what we did with our SWOT analysis, and we need to do A, B, and C, it could be so devastating.
Yeah.
To a company, to its culture, to its founders, to its stakeholders. And that's why they were emphasizing how there needs to be a much more soft touch, a human touch, a period of now where everyone's talking about machine learning in the sphere of AI, that we need to be a little bit more compassionate and understanding and work with people because in these developing nations, these emerging economies, you can't copy paste your Western MBA over
Yeah.
here. And I think people who've done business for a long time, who've done international business, know this. But that was one point that was brought up. What else? Anything that you else observed during your birthday 6-hour meeting session?
So if we stick on culture, we're in Dhaka, been in Istanbul, we've been in like a few countries this year,
Yeah.
and it's the same playlist. It's American hip hop music, like Migos. Cardi. I have to admit defeat, right? My hip hop tastes are back in the '90s, but this Botox Heraldez, right? Basically,
What do you mean by Botox or all this? What does that mean?
because you're just like I don't get how you're listening to this young kid hip hop. Like, where do you find it?
It's just this. I like hip hop and the evolution.
So
of it.
do I,
But people will say, "Oh, this is not hip hop because this is trash. This trap music, and this is not real lyricism." And those people, these, what do you call them, man? These purists, these golden age. And I mean, this could be any. This is any
Yeah.
hobby. This is any industry. Oh, in the good old days when we used to play football when men were men. You know, it's just grow. Life changes, dude. Things change. Adapt or die. Just come on. Get with
Okay.
the times. But I listen to it because I like hip hop and I like its new iteration.
So what artists did you recognize?
Everything, I knew
Playlist?
it.
Okay, so name some artists for people that actually.
No, there were Migos, Drake, Cardi B. Yeah, I knew the whole entire playlist.
Yeah.
Every single song. Post Malone was on there. And, well, it's the Le Meridien. It's a 5-star hotel, but it's a French brand that was purchased by Starwood. I remember it got purchased earlier in the 2000s, I think. Man, that's Marriott. That's American. So everything that you're hearing is just, it's pumping out
but then
American culture.
America has so many different genres.
That is true. There are
But they-
different.
I mean, they could have played Kenny Rogers. They could have played like Travis Tritt. They could have played like, they could have played.
They could have played John Legend. They could have played R&B. They could. No, it was
But
just
like we're in a hotel
straight
where
trap. It was
you've got
straight hip hop music.
uncles and aunties, grannies and granddads, like like stir fry Migos,
Walk it,
What was
like I
it?
talk it.
Walk it,
like I talk it.
or Cardi B,
Yeah, no,
eating halal.
Driving a lamb.
That's it.
No, but this is everywhere
So
we
to
go
me,
in
I mean,
the world.
I suppose-
It's just the cultural capital.
So the light bulb was that
You know how they said Rome fell
yeah.
500 years? Right? That's the saying. I don't know if they had the cultural capital. I could be wrong. I plead ignorance on this. Is that the cultural capital of America is so impressive as an observer in all these different nations and cities. And America could last longer because of this type. And I'm trying to not. It's not. I'm not in the negative sense, but this type of colonization.
Okay, but let me be more explicit. It's black, American,
Yeah.
current trending, hard
People from adverse backgrounds,
hip hop from Atlanta.
mainly from Atlanta and the
Yeah?
South. Yeah.
It's hard lyrical content, and the English level in Bangladesh is good enough to be able to recognize when people are like saying certain things, right? But people are okay with it. Now, I guess what I'm saying is I'm interested by this next wave. It's not the America that we saw before. It's the America where people see this global currency of kind of struggle, ethnic diaspora, and you were talking about, isn't there? There's a new Bangladeshi
Yeah.
MC coming out of Queens,
Out of
right?
Queens, out of New York. Yeah. man. Yeah.
I'm excited by that because I mean I think in China they had this policy called the Sea Turtles, right? Where in academia they basically bought back the top Chinese professors and said we'll match your salary, add on some, and we'll give you the accommodation that's equivalent to where you're living,
That's
wherever
sports.
it
That's a sports play.
is. Right. So imagine that a country like Bangladesh, like when it has this diaspora, starts to think in that mindset. I'm excited by that proposition where it's not like people are just doing it because they've got family here and they're sending money back home or they're buying a bit of land or things like that. But genuinely, like, I'm going to come back here, relocate, set up a business, functioning in the way that I do and trying to change the economy. Because we can see how that's had an effect on China, right?
Yeah.
And that's what excites me, to be honest, about the emerging economies. That could Bangladesh be one of those places because you're making so many items, the clothes,
all the clothes. We
Yeah.
were in Turkey, and I was going to put on a shirt, and I looked at it and it said "Made in Bangladesh," and I said, "Wow,
Yeah.
funny! I'm going to be there a couple of weeks." And there's so many factories here, so much production because
Yeah.
they have a capital that a lot of countries don't have, which is human capital. They have a lot of people
Yeah.
that can work in such a small piece of land.
So probably the play is going to be that it's this whole sea turtle thing where,
Yeah.
for those Bangladeshis out there that are in America,
Repatriation.
that have the accent, that have the education, that have the cultural insight, that are schooled in it, and it is their culture, to then encourage that cross-fertilization back to the motherland, and for that to have some kind of impact.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes nations look at it as, we the nation are the people inside the nation, and you people that left the nation, you don't really know what's going on here, and we know where you are, but they don't engage them in the way that perhaps they could, where they see that these are people with basically dual culture, dual nationality, multilingual, done the air miles. And so if anyone out there is watching that's thinking about those things, I think that's what's fascinating, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. It's 3:45 or what, 3:50, and yeah. Anything else you took from the meeting? Anything that you thought was cool, or we're doing our thing tomorrow? We're still gonna.
Mohammed's got this exercise planned for the delegates where we're going to get a flip chart and a green marker and a red marker.
No, not me.
And he's going to ask them to see if they can draw
Like
the
everything I do.
Bangladeshi flag.
Like everything I do, just pure freestyle. I'm gonna get up there. I gotta talk for how long? 30 minutes? What's the topic? Okay, let's go. Freestyle from the top. Anyway,
Your style ain't for free, though.
yeah, it's only pay style on mine because I love money. That's E40 for those who know. Anyway, is that it?
Done.
Okay. Anyway, thank you for watching our really early morning, late night vlog. Take care, be awesome. Peace. Happy birthday, dude.
Cheers, man.